In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, PL's 1975 C-231 S1 amended 2006 C-70 S2, Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending a notice of time, date, location to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press and the New Coaster on January 8th, 2021 via email. Copies of this notice have also been placed at the Administration Building, Bulletin Board, District Schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Police Department, and filed with the City Clerk on January 2021. The Asbury Park School District will provide all students with a comprehensive and progressive education where everyone possesses the skills and the character to succeed in a diverse, evolving global society. Roll call, please.
Sabez Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Breach. Here. Ms. Cook. Mr. Grillo. Mr. Latoracco. Here. Mr. Remy.
Here.
Mr. Saunders. Ms. Lozinski. Here. Ms. Etienne.
I'm going to stand for the flag, please. I'm going to start with our committee chairs. Mr. Latoracco, you have two committees to report on.
Thank you. I'll start with the subcommittee in the Barack Obama building. We met on the 17th. We are going to look at developing a master plan for all kinds of potential uses there, but immediately we thought we'd deal with getting activity in the building, kind of taking the low-hanging fruit that will use the media center, perhaps do a literacy, story time, arts and crafts activities come the holidays this fall, and try to utilize the gymnasium with some kind of recreation, talk to potential partners there. We can get that going, spend minimal amount of funds on repairs and freshening up the space and getting it going. We won't deal with any updating of the boiler. As of yet, the system is working, and we have to see if we're putting academic into the building. Then come late fall, we can include that in our federal fund requested budget. We do have an appraisal of the site of the maintenance building. We also have an older repair estimate for what's needed there. So we're going to update those with the idea that gather more facts as to whether there can be a shift of that facility to Obama or whether it's not feasible. Noted that with the Parent Center, we'll probably look at an event that uses bigger space and more people for Obama as we're getting the parent space up and going. A lot of this, because of COVID, we really want to see what our facility usage is as we hit the ground now, where it's been essentially a year without more normal activities going on. And the administration is working to see what are some potential academic programs that might be feasible with the other aspects of doing academic programs there, what's going to be feasible, and if so, then requesting federal grant money. So that was that subcommittee. I don't know if we have questions on that before I do finance. We all set? With regard to the Finance Committee, we had a meeting August 19th. We did end the contract for services between the district and Energy Systems Group, a group that All of the main principals had left that group, and we were now dealing with a totally different entity. So we are going to be moving forward with soliciting new proposals for the energy service companies so that we can start our energy savings improvement plan again. I don't recall seeing that on the agenda, Mr. Hastings. I'm not sure if we...
No, we don't have a
We
resolution
don't have
on
to
this
do
meeting.
that. We can just go ahead. We're waiting for Thursday, August 26th for the administrators union to meet. We have a negotiated agreement that's been accepted by their leadership and by the board. They need to get back to us with regard to their full vote, and therefore we don't anticipate that on the agenda until September. With regard to the high school stadium, the netting has been completed. That's all up. And we're going to be getting quotes on any of the concrete repair we're looking at. With regard to the 2023 budget, so after the first quarter, we'll probably be requesting information from the administration. We're going to be looking at a budget cut of $5.4 million due to the S2 bill, that budget loss of state adjustment aid funding. So we'll be looking now about programs that might not be working, about any outsourcing we might do, moving ahead. With regard to others, maybe you've seen there are more ads out there now for substitute teachers for the Asbury Park School District. The administration has been working with Kelly Services, saying we would like to see a bigger pool of individuals. We're currently paying $90 a day. The committee discussed if ensure that that is the going rate for other school districts in our area. If we're low, we will be competitive with that rate, and the committee would bring it to the board and say, let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll review in late fall any solicitations for changing Kelly Services as our substitute staffing and the cafeteria services. So those RFPs will come up later in the semester. And that was it for finance. Questions?
Quick question. You said that $5.4 million cuts for 22, and 23? Is that what it is?
Right, for the 23 school year, which is 22, 23. It'll be $5.4 million in loss of adjustment aid.
Mr. Remy, you want to go over your committee report?
Sure, I can take that if you like, Mr. Remy. The Buildings and Grounds Committee met on the 19th. We had not received any new facility request forms. We talked about the reopening of school in September and the work being done by our custodial and maintenance teams and the cleaning they're doing continuing to clean based on the COVID-19 protocols in preparation for the full reopening. The superintendent has a walkthrough scheduled with our Buildings and Grounds supervisor very soon. We did touch on the stadium, as Mr. LaRocca mentioned, as well as the subcommittee report out on the Barack repurposing. And then there was a conversation about summer and the heat and some of the air conditioning breakdowns that we've had in the district. It's noted that the high school, Thurgood and Bradley are fully air conditioned. Bradley here is on schedule for a full renovation of our unit ventilators. That's going to be paid out of our ESSER 3 grant funding so that we can get all those units back up and running. We have some that are down, and due to the age, it's difficult to get parts to get those back up and running. But I'll note that's the air conditioning portion of the system. So the system is still circulating air, will circulate heat obviously during the fall and winter, but unfortunately during the summer it's circulating the same warm air that's inside and outside. We also have window units installed in some of the classrooms, and administration here at the building and at our other summer locations tried to move classrooms into those buildings. We also have the upper elementary scheduled with our ESSER 2 funds for a full unit ventilator replacement that'll include air conditioning capability in those units, and then the second phase of that will be to add a condensing unit compressor to the outside of the building to support the air conditioning function. So that'll sort of be a two-phase at the upper elementary versus one phase here at Bradley.
Any questions?
Just wanted to switch back to solar. Driving down 3rd Avenue, I saw we were getting the solar. I just forgot, what's our timetable on completion of solar being activated? It's 2022, right?
Right, this year the solar will be up and running. We expect a pretty quick turnaround. The install was delayed basically just on design. So there was a final review of the design and where panels were going on the various roofs of our schools, and some changes and tweaks made based on where we have. For example, we talked about adding compressors to the high school for the college wing there to add some more air conditioning. So we just wanted to make sure the panels didn't interfere with future projects, and to make sure the panel arrangement didn't interfere with access to other rooftop units. So the solar landscape, which is here in Asbury Park, started at the Bradley building this week. So there's been delivery of panels. Those will be installed on the roof, and from there they're going to move to the high school and then to the other two buildings. I'm not sure which after the high school, whether it's Thurgood or the upper elementary. But we expect those to be up and running in the fall.
Ms. Breach?
Okay, as everybody knows, homecoming this year is September 24th. It's earlier than we normally do because of our schedule, but we are going forward with our normal homecoming events. As far as we're going to have a parade, we're going to have our court, we're going to go ahead like we've done in the past with the exception of last year. So I'm looking forward to that. If anybody has a convertible they like to donate to the parade, but we're going forward as we did in the past. We're going to try to celebrate our 1970 alumni and our 1971 alumni, since we weren't able to do that last year. So we're going to try to recognize those two grades. We're still looking to honor 2 individuals from those classes to be honorary captains. We're waiting to hear back from a couple individuals, and once we know that, we'll let you guys know. We posted our winter coaching jobs. We had a successful media day with our fall sports program. Our football team was on hand. A couple of the other teams were on hand. Unfortunately, some of our students were working. They weren't able to be there. But all in all, I think it was a great day. I want to thank one of our sponsor, Dr. Angelo Chinichi, personally, from donating all the pizza that our kids were able to enjoy that day. And I noticed a lot of our football teams here right now, so I'd like to recognize them. Looking forward to a successful fall sports schedule and program, and yeah, we're back. So if anybody has any questions, feel free. Our first home game's coming up, so hope to see you all there.
The only other committee left is policy. We have a slew of updated mandated policies for first reading and tonight. And the only thing that has changed is the COVID update policies based on what the old executive order was, and now we have a change of executive order. So unless I missed something, Jeff, that's about it.
Right, it's a large alert, 224 from Strauss Esme, but as you'll see on the agenda, there's some different sections there, but the bulk of the first section is just based on new statute, so they're mandatory updates based on the new statutes that were adopted by the state legislature. The second group, because of all this federal money that's going into the state, into the various states, the state has looked at their Office of Fiscal Accountability and Compliance and audits done by them as relates to federal funds, and they made some recommendations on policies that districts should have in place to monitor the spending of federal dollars. And then, as you said, we're switching from the road back to the road forward based on the various COVID plans the state has put forward. But they're all mandatory adoptions. And the abolished policies, you'll note there, the ones that are being abolished have the same language, just in a different policy that we already have adopted. So that's why those are being abolished.
Any questions? No? The only thing I wanted to bring up before we go to the public portion is if we could adopt our goal action plans next month. I don't know if, yeah, I have the number one I sent around to everybody for review. I don't know if the operational norms, if anybody's met on that. If you can, if you get an opportunity to do that. Yes.
In regards to that, I did reach out to Kathy Wyckoff, and she suggested that we hold off on that until we have, our permanent suit. And our chairperson is Ms. Cook, and I'm speaking on her behalf.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Ms. Lozinski, I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't know if you wanted me to
Oh,
update.
curriculum, how could I
Yes.
forget?
Okay, thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. The C&I committee met on Tuesday, the 17th. I'm just going to recap a couple of highlights. First, number 14, recommend the board to approve the development and submission of the New Jersey Child Assault Prevention, the CAP program. We've been doing this program for a few years. It's to help with our students dealing with suicide prevention, interventions, and postvention, so that we deal with the whole student in that regard. Number 15, recommend the board approve the development and submission of the application for the American Rescue Plan Act, Individuals with Disabilities in Education. So this is a big grant. Hopefully, if we were to get it, it would help with our special needs population, as well as there's a portion as well for preschool. Skipping down, number 18, the board, we recommend the board approve the implementation of the HYPE program, Helping Youth Process Emotion. This program was actually developed and started at Thurgood Marshall. When that guidance counselor moved up to the high school, she's bringing that same program up to the high school with some adjustments, obviously, for high school students. Just need $200 for supplies. Skipping down, recommending the board approve the Frontline RTI program management system to track student progress and monitor the effectiveness and make better database decisions. So we're just going to consolidate all of our programming through Frontline, as we already do currently now with IEP Direct and a couple of other programs for our special needs students. Moving on to number 23, we recommend the board approval for the posting of the extracurricular activities for our CTE Academies. As you know, we have 3 CTE Academies, and we run it 1 hour after. It's actually a required component of the CTE Academies to run the 1 hour after school portion of that program. The last 2 items on the agenda to put on recently, we actually got, we're asking the board to approve and accept the $5,000 grant from the AmeriCorps State Commission to be used to purchase some clothing, and the $25 ShopRite gift card for 50 identified Asbury Park School District students. So we're in the process of doing that as we speak. And lastly, we recommend the board approval for the language and literacy awareness, multilingual and multicultural education. We're going to be providing staff development on the 9th and the 10th for all teachers. Basically gives teachers in grades 7 to 12, I should say, a general overview of best practices when dealing with bilingual and English language learners. Thank you.
Thank you. One other thing, is any questions for Mr. Reese? Yes.
Hi. A little bit more of a finance question, so it might go to Mr. Hastings, but I noticed some of the social emotional learning and tracking were able to use ESSER funding. Were all considered the software solution program and others? Did we do a consideration of all and whether all were covered under ESSER funding or not?
Yes, so ESSER 1, which is also called New Jersey Cares, plan was put together, as well as the ESSER 2 funding plan were both put together and submitted some months ago. In putting those plans together, there were SEL considerations in terms of the initial setup of the budget. I can't speak directly to that particular program, but SEL programs were included in both of those budgets. As we move forward through those budgets and spend the funds, there is a window for budget modifications. So we can take maybe money that was expected to be spent, let's say 50,000, and we spent 40, you could take that 10 and reassign it to SEL. And then of course there is that specific SEL portion of ESSER 2, which I think is at 45,000 that is available directly to SEL programs. And I know Dr. Howard Morris had provided some programs there to take care of those funds.
I have two questions, Mr. Rees. Number 23, what is the cost for the after-school programs?
Well, this is not the, 23 is not the after-school program. Which one are you talking about, 20?
B723 for
23,
the,
this one is for the CTE Academies. So it's really 1 hour, we pay $41 an hour.
$20 an hour?
41
$41.
for the teachers, yeah. For 1 hour, once a week.
Okay, the other question I have is B620. Can you elaborate a little bit as far as like what their actual program, who's running this program? Is it going to be in-house, or is it's a management group? And just,
Yeah, it's
it's $13,000. So I mean,
Yeah.
is it coming from, a funding group, or is it something coming out of our budget? Just curious.
This is, I'm not sure what budget line exactly this is. I know this is submitted by Special Services. Go ahead.
This is
IDEA?
IDEA
right?
funding,
Yeah.
I believe it's for software,
Yes.
not a specific,
So it's a grant?
it's grant funded through IDEA, and it's for software.
Right. It's software we already use, and it's just we brought a new component in, RTI, which is response to intervention, to help our students to identify. We used a different program before, which was HIPS intervention. This will help us to consolidate under one program, because all those programs talk to each other. You're welcome.
Any other questions? One other question I want to ask the board members that are involved in the superintendent search. On September 2nd, we're going to be reviewing. Do you want to just have a meeting, or do you want to come in a little bit at a time? It's just if we have more than 3, we'll have a quorum. So what's everybody's, what do you want to do? Because I'll call Kathy, and we'd have to post for a special meeting. Yeah. Are you? And what time? Because Kathy was going to come at 4, but if we have a lot of people coming at 5 or 6, we'd have to post a special meeting. So I don't know what's everybody's opinion about. Should we post for a special meeting? And if we are, what time did you want to start?
Well, I'm not sure what you're at. Joe and I could come earlier if there would not to have others come later, and then there's
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
No quorum
Right.
issues, and and Kathy is there from 2 o'clock?
From 4 o'clock on, she'll be there. So if you stagger, because I know some people are working, they'll be there later. We can kind of stagger it, then we don't have to have a special meeting.
And this is September 2nd.
Yes, September 2nd, yes.
Well, with others coming at 5, I'd say maybe we announce. Yeah, let's announce a meeting.
You want to announce, what time do you want to start? Just tell me what time.
So Joe and I would be here 4, others would come at 5.
Okay, so we could start the special,
Well, so the way it's currently set up is from 4 to 7 p.m. Ms. Weinkauf will be available at central office, and board members can come in those windows of time to review the applicants. The only asterisk there is that we don't want to have 4 at the same time, which would be a quorum. If we can assure that we won't have the quorum, then we don't need a special meeting announced. If there is going to be a quorum, then we need to post, and we're getting very close on advertising for that meeting, so.
yes, 4 to 7. We'll work it out then. Is that okay?
Okay, well then, yeah, I mean, I know
I'll
Joe
just
and I,
chase people, just chase
those
people. out, right?
that Anthony was working and
Kenneth.
later, we can come earlier.
4 o'clock.
Okay. And then there's one other thing I wanted to mention, with the mask and vaccination executive order, I was wondering if the board wanted to support the new executive order with the resolution tonight in favor of, making sure the kids are safe and everybody complies within the school district. So we can get something really short to,
Yeah, I would
written up.
agree that we need to support the mask mandate.
okay, we'll do
With the
something during.
variance and everything that's going on, it's like, with the variance and everything that's going on, yes.
Okay, we'll have our attorney write something really quick up and we'll adopt it during the regular meeting. Okay.
But I do have a question. I know that the teachers will be tested, but will they be required to have the vaccine? Because I know where I work, and
Yeah.
I'm in healthcare, that
If you don't-
everybody, by October the 7th, I think it is, everybody's has to have the vaccine. Is that the
Yeah,
same?
there are 2 choices, although the news is reporting that there's 1, but there's really 2. Under the governor's executive order, every teacher has to be vaccinated or submit to at least once a week testing. So it's a strongly worded executive order, but there is that piece where if you don't get tested, you are permitted to, if you don't get vaccinated, you're permitted to submit to testing at least once a week. You're required. If you're permitted to not be vaccinated, but then you have to submit to testing at least once a week.
Sorry. So there's no mandate to have the vaccine by a certain period?
There is a mandate that you either have to have it by October 18th, but if you don't get it by October 18th, you're going to have to submit to testing at least once a week.
Mr. Sanders, also we are providing, in partnership with the VNA, 2 vaccination opportunities on the 7th and 8th of September. Again, as the attorney said, it is highly recommended but not required. But if staff so choose, we're giving them the opportunity to get vaccinated on the 7th and 8th. And then we're also working with the VNA to also provide those same opportunities for age-eligible and interested families during our back-to-school night.
But I got a question. My next question is, should we mandate?
We have a mask mandate that upon entering Asbury Park, Asbury Park facilities, that you should have a mask on.
Oh, yeah, the mask is required. But should we mandate our team members to be vaccinated?
We cannot, we have to follow the executive order, and the executive order gives a either or.
Okay.
So that's what we're adhering to.
Because I know that, like I said before, by October 7th, I think it is, everybody at Central State has to have either the vaccine or they won't be employed there.
So again, one of the things that we will be doing here in the district, next week I'll be having a meeting with both the APASA leadership and the APEA leadership to work on the details on how we will manage that from a logistical standpoint for those that have opted not, and that's part of my superintendent's report. So I will reiterate that during that portion. Okay?
Question. You said this September 7th and 8th. Where would that be held at as far as the vaccinations?
Again, that will take place at each of the four building locations. So we will have 4 at the same time in partnership with the VNA.
And as far as the testing, if somebody opts out as far as the vaccination for one reason or another, who's going to be doing the weekly testing?
So again, that was one of the things that we've talked with Executive Superintendent Les Richens. We are also in partnership and communication with the VNA as well as possible the Monmouth County Health Department to offer testing. So right now, this executive order just came on Tuesday. We released information to the community on Wednesday. I reiterated that today in another virtual post, as well as we sent out a survey to staff members about the vaccination opportunity, but also reiterating the governor's executive order.
One more question, I'm sorry. Do you know if the vaccination is going to be Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer? Do you know which one it's going to be?
So each of them offer all three for age eligible. Again, there is no vaccination for children under age 12. And so what we'll be offering is what is eligible and approved by the CDC and what is approved for those three vaccinations. Again, for those that choose to. We are not issuing a vaccination mandate. We are offering the opportunity for those that would like to get vaccinated. And again, I will have some public commentary on that during the superintendent's report.
Any other questions? The public participation part, in accordance with our board policy 0167, please state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes. Somebody would like to speak?
We do also have 2 emails, it looks like.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, hello. My name is LaShawn Anderson Bray, and I'm here at this meeting because I want to know what plans do you effectively have in order to make sure that these children are going to be safe when other schools are closing? Because even at a meeting, and as you all are sitting up here, you're not 6 feet apart. My daughter doesn't feel comfortable going to school, and in 2015, being in the hands of school, she was sent home unresponsive and was in ICU for 3 weeks, and this was prior to a pandemic. You all didn't know what was wrong with her, you couldn't tell me, and I just don't feel comfortable with her in school. What are you going to do at PE? How many children are going to be in one class? Are you going to cut the desk in half? I mean, how can you guarantee that no one at school is going to contract it or pass it along? Do any of you have school-age children that you have to worry about that's going to school? Because this is a choice, right? So if some children can't be in school, what type of home instruction plan do you have?
Well, thank you for your question, ma'am. We will be following the executive order by the governor, and there is no virtual option that is being offered in the state at this time. So we are returning to full in-person instruction. To address the first comment about the social distancing, we're following the CDC guidelines in terms of social distancing recommendations and guidelines, which is presently at 3 feet. We have been consistent with our electrostatic cleaning, as well as all of our other health precautions. As you heard me earlier mention about the mask mandate, we are and have been communicating that out on various social media platforms, as well as offering vaccination opportunities going back to earlier this month. So in terms of what we will be offering, in terms of our instructional programs, it will be our traditional in-person instructional programs for our students. We are trying to get back to as normal as possible. But again, our guidelines are following the executive orders by the governor, as well as the health and safety precautions.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. How am I a parent to feel safe sending my daughter to school when prior to this pandemic being in you all's care, you sent her home unresponsive and she was in ICU for 3 weeks? So now that something deadly is going on, I don't want to be a parent that have to get a phone call and then you guys only have to give me is you're sorry, or like, no, I don't even want to bury a child.
I think that what you might want to do is have a conversation with Dr. Adams after the meeting, or contact him tomorrow and continue your conversation so he can understand your situation a little bit better. And you
Okay.
guys can talk back and forth. How's that?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else want to come up? Is one individual going to speak for the group?
Yeah,
Is that
I got
what's
you.
gonna happen?
I'm
Okay, just state your name and your address.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Elijah Drake, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Asbury Park High School football team. So it has come to our attention that you say we are not allowed to wear our new home jerseys, and we have been getting kicked out of the locker room. And we feel like we work real hard, and this opportunity is being taken away from us.
Thank you. I'm sure Dr. Adams will have a conversation regarding your concerns.
So gentlemen, I don't want you to leave here without addressing that. In terms of the uniform issue, that is a policy situation that is a little bit right now that we'll be taking up with the athletic committee. Again, you all are byproducts of that situation, and it's unfortunate that as players, you've been practicing all summer, getting ready for the season opener, and this unfortunate adult situation was not handled properly. And so you all are collateral individuals in this, and I do apologize to you on that behalf, but this situation related to the uniforms will be handled in the athletic committee to be addressed later. And so that's as much as information that I can respond to that regarding that, because that is something that has recently come to our attention.
Also, I have another question. What about the locker room situation?
Can you elaborate on what you're asking about?
Yes. They say we're not allowed in the locker room, and not even for our first game. We just want to know what's up with that.
Dr. Adams or Mr. Hastings, you want to address the structural issues?
So the stadium, over the course of numerous years, has had issues with water leaking, and I'm sure some of the players here have seen the water leaking in and come in and see the puddles on the floor and that sort of thing. The district is addressing the damage that's been done, the expansion joints in the stadium that's allowing water to leak in. But what's happened over time is you're getting concrete that's loose. So you have all seen the netting that was put up over the past 2 weeks around the outside of the stadium and sort of under the arches, and that is there to catch anything that might come loose, and that's obviously a safety issue. The next step for the buildings and grounds supervisor is to look inside the stadium. So in the locker room areas, we all get changed and get ready for games and talk to the coaches and plays and all those sorts of things. That's being looked at to see what we can do to make sure it's safe for you to be in there. So that's going to be addressed over the next week, whether it's to add netting inside the stadium to allow anything that may fall to be caught. So that's where we stand with that right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry? I can't,
He'd like to
speaking to the
speak.
mic, I can't hear you.
Come back to the jerseys and the locker room.
Could you just state your name and address?
Yazir Johnson. I live in Stephen Manor.
Let's hear your football voice. I can't hear you.
It's talking.
There you go. We want to hear you.
About the jersey situation. I feel as though there's more problems going on in the school district and everywhere else for y'all just to not let us wear our jerseys, and you feel me? Like,
I feel you, like, I understand.
there's more problems going on, like where we from, school district, like way more bigger problems, not letting us wear our jerseys, going out locker rooms. Like, it seems like y'all just trying to take everything away from us. Like, what do we have left? Like, we barely can use our locker rooms. Like, not trying to let us use the other locker rooms inside the school. Like, we in the female locker room. Like, it's like
Young man, I understand your concern, but our concern is with your safety. And if we have to do an evaluation of your locker room to make sure you're safe, that's what we have to do. We don't want anybody to get hurt. Okay, so until we get an answer about the condition of the locker room, they'll review it, and then you'll find out what the outcome is. Nobody's trying to take anything away from you, okay?
Like this, like the locker room situation, like that been going on for a while, but so like why did y'all just choose to take the locker room away now? And it's been going on for years.
I understand, we understand your concern. The board is, you know, a supporter of the football team, supporter of sports. We want you to be able to play and enjoy your activities safely. Does anybody else have a question? Excuse me. Is there another question?
Oh, yeah, I have a question. So
Can you state your name and your address?
my name
please?
is Catherine Miller, and I'd rather not say my address because you never know who can be listening. But I have a question. So with all these changes that's going on, even with their locker room and some other stuff, with the jerseys or whatever, are these kids going to have a season? Is this something to look forward to or not?
Oh, certainly. They already had their first scrimmage against Burlington. I was out there watching them. They look great. Sure, there's a season. Nobody's canceling football.
Okay.
So I don't want anybody to think that's happening. Unless something happens and it's an executive order comes down and, you know, we have no control over that. But football's football, and everybody else is going to be playing their sports,
And
as
there
far
was
as we
some
know.
other stuff that I heard that's possibly like there might be taking the field. Is that something that's an issue? The field?
Please don't listen to rumors.
Okay,
If you
that's
have,
why I'm asking.
definitely. If you have a question, please address it with somebody in the administration, whether it's Dr. Adams, you know, and
If I could just, because this is a statewide, I represent a lot of school districts around the whole state, and I know there's a lot of concern about sports because there's been issues, of course, you know, since COVID began with sports. But the only thing that could potentially create an issue for your team would be if some kids get sick, right? If there's a outbreak on the team of some sort. And that's, again, same reason that the locker room is an issue at this very moment, although hopefully it won't be for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's just about the safety of the kids on the team. But, you know, I think the state, from what I'm seeing on a policy standpoint, is highly supportive of kids because it's been such a difficult time for them over these last couple of years, playing sports and obviously being outside as much as possible. So, yes, I think you probably have a whole season to look forward to. The only thing, just to, you know, this is just the law telling us what to do, is if you had some sort of sickness issue on the team, and obviously that would have to be dealt with by your school district.
Okay, one more question. Well, one more rumor. All right, so I just want to be clear. So another rumor I heard is possibly we're looking forward to like losing one of our coaches, but I feel like, well, our coaches is like what keeps these kids focused, and they have good relationships with them, and them kids that don't have like fatherly figures, that's where the coaches step in at.
So, ma'am, to answer that, one, we don't make comments on personnel.
Okay.
But two, that has not been any conversation remotely that we've had about any staffing, coaches, or whatever. And I would caution you to not necessarily follow that rabbit down an unknown path.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Gentlemen, thank you.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming up.
It's still on? It's still on? Yeah, my name is Javon King. I ain't gonna put my address. I wanted to really ask, like, what's the point of taking everything away from us when we don't really have anything like that? You literally take everything away from us. The only thing we really have is us. We go through a lot. We do everything by ourselves.
So the season is still intact.
That's the only thing that we plan on is us. But other than that, it's like you take everything away from us. We can't really do nothing besides be us.
May I?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Another one.
Is that a comment or you? Go ahead.
I was wanting to ask, like, is there any type of way that we could be able to wear the jerseys or the outfits, anything?
We have to follow the board policy and procedures. Again, that will go back into the athletic committee. As far as removing and taking things away from you all. That is not something, the season is still intact. Your practice and all of those things are still effectively ongoing, and your season is upcoming. So right now, I think as players, you guys had a great scrimmage this past week, and that's where the focus and energy that you all can control should be placed back on. There are other things that are outside of your control that are more adult issues, and those will be handled through committee. But I want to implore you men to focus on the season ahead, your next upcoming, your first game, and that's what we would, like to see your efforts placed upon.
Okay, so I also got another one. Basically, the baseball team has, I'm possibly sure they have new jerseys also. And, right? Yeah, they have gray jerseys also as how we have our gray jerseys. So it's like, are we the only ones getting talked to?
So let me say that this is unfortunate that particular issues are not handled properly, and that's the reason why I'm sending it back to the athletic committee, which is supposed to and will be handling that the proper way, so that you all and students won't be impacted by these type of decisions in the future. Again, it's unfortunate, but we are handling that in the athletic committee on the board, so that way it is following the proper procedures. And again, that way you or any future students won't have to endure this level of frustration about things that are and should be handled by the adults. So I do apologize for that, but we have to send that issue and that matter back to the committees to handle.
Also, our helmets are gray. Like, our helmets are matte gray. So what are we going to do with our helmets, even if we can't even rock out with our uniforms on? So what are we going to do with our helmets? All black and gray helmets with all black. That don't even go.
Thank you. Understood.
May I say something? Gentlemen, before you leave, one thing that I would want to say to you is this. Young man, get your walk over here. I want you to hear what I have to say. You guys came here today about your concern. You have used your power by using your voice, coming here and stating your concerns politely, and this is what we need you to do throughout the year, to use your voice, to ask questions. We're here and we're working for you. But just like with football, if somebody is going against the rules, right, what happens? They do a foul, then you lose a point. I'm not real big into football, but there's rules in playing football, right?
Yeah.
And everybody got to follow those rules. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're here on this board, and yeah, we have to follow rules too, because there's people above us that we have to follow and tell us what to do. So I'm encouraging you to continue to come here and share your concerns with us so that we can work to resolve them.
Yeah, I got one more question. Well, I just need some clarity. So, the only problem with our locker room is that there's water leaking?
It's structural. It's more than just water. It's cement could fall. So until we know exactly what's going on, we can't let you use it, okay? And that's a safety thing.
What if someone got hurt? We knew there was what if the district knew there was a problem, right? And then you didn't fix it, and then one of you guys got hurt. We would be responsible for that. So that's what's happening right now. We're having people who know more than we do look into this, who's a professional, so that they can make sure that no one could get hurt in there. That's the only thing we're doing.
So, where will we begin to change that then, if we can't go in our locker room? Back in the females' locker room?
I'm sure that there'll be arrangements made, okay, and you'll find out as soon as, you have to change. You'll be good.
But now they're saying
there'll be arrangements. You should know already. I'm sure there'll be arrangements made. You're not going to be changing in the middle of the field or anything like that.
So where are we going to change that? Because now they're trying to kick us out of the female locker room. We have nowhere else to change.
I'm sure the coaches and the athletic director are already speaking about what you're going to be doing.
Gentlemen,
The board isn't going to be the one to make that decision.
I will be having a conversation with the staff that oversee that in terms of the coaching staff and the athletic director to make sure that those accommodations for you are handled.
Yeah, I'm sorry, like we were saying, you said that we would be getting hurt in the locker room or whatever, or something like that. I'm sorry for how I'm talking, but the locker room's been like this for years. How come we didn't get it fixed? Talk about now we might get hurt. We could have been hurt years ago. How come now it's just all of a sudden?
It's being.
That you said that we could get hurt.
Excuse me, young man, we're not going to have a debate about the safety
It's not a debate.
of all of
It's
you.
not a debate.
Okay, right now, we're concerned about the safety of the locker room.
It's a question.
Until-
How come you didn't fix
I
this years
understand,
ago?
and I appreciate everything you're saying. But
Okay,
it's
thank
being
you, thank
addressed,
you, thank
okay?
you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Have a good night, gentlemen. Is there anyone else for public comment? I'm going to close the public
We do
comment.
have some emails,
Oh, we do have emails.
yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Hastings.
Our first email is from Miss Victoria Maitland. My name is Victoria Maitland. My 3 kids go to the Bradley School. Last year, the board approved to get rid of the art class in all elementary schools, so my kids don't have art. Last week, the new superintendent told the community that visual art classes were not cut. Was this a lie, or does this mean that you're approving that art be brought back to the schools now?
So to answer that question, one of the things that we have offered, and I did, if you follow me on ASP_Adams, I actually posted today regarding our visual and performing arts offerings as a district. We may have had personnel cuts, however, our programs for our arts, and just to kind of give you our fine arts and music as elective in 7th and 8th grade, fine arts in 4th through 12th. We have integrated art K through 12 in various forms. We have our Lake House music program. We have our music and music theory and band and chorus. So we do have visual and performing arts in our district.
The second email we have is from Miss Maureen Casey from BRIC. My name is Maureen Casey. I'm still currently the APEA grievance chairperson and still very involved with district employees. As I look at tonight's agenda and as I get phone calls from those that I still represent, I have to ask, and yes, I am aware that the district has the right to transfer staff. However, during this critical time, how do some staff still not receive the courtesy of a phone call about that transfer? Staff spend their own money and get excited to prepare their classrooms only to be told that they are being moved. I have begged for years that the district get a better handle on student population and needs earlier so that staff can be placed appropriately by the end of the previous school year. Yet I continuously hear Genesis wasn't updated properly or rolled over properly when the CST works tirelessly to hand in projections in a timely manner. It saddens me to hear that money is spent on staff to have them properly trained to work with a particular population, only to have them transferred. On my exit paperwork and in conversations with many of you, I have begged that you get to know your staff and students on a more intelligent level. Please know that I haven't left in body or heart and am still here for my students, even though I am retired. With constant administrative turnover and dropping the ball, it is so hard for consistency for our students to be successful and for our staff to feel respected. Please reach out to those people in the trenches and stop worrying about social media, tweets, articles, politics. I beg you.
Thank you. Any other comments from anybody? No? I'm going to close the public participation period. Yeah, I guess. Okay, what we're going to do is open up the regular meeting have public comments, and then we're going to go in executive session for a short time and then come back and do the regular agenda. You need a timeout?
Just for a second.
The consultant, I believe his name is Chris Dermott. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to bring up the consultant that we had tabled at our last meeting, Chris Dermott. How do I pronounce his name? And I want that to be placed on our meeting for our regular meeting. How do I do that?
That's a personnel issue. The superintendent's the only one that could put that on the agenda. We can't do that. It's not a board role. Talk about
So
the
can we
consultant.
do that?
We'd have to talk about it in athletics again. If that's an athletic or a curriculum issue, it wasn't brought up in any of the committees this month. You can ask to be brought up in a committee for next month if you want.
But I thought we could bring it up here and,
You want to refer to committee, you can. Is that what you want to do? Which kind of consultant is it?
he was an athletic consultant that basically gave our children a better chance of getting in D1 schools.
That issue he's referring to, Mr. Grillo had tabled it at last month's meeting.
So it was
Okay.
it was on the agenda.
All right, it wasn't brought back to the committee. I don't think it was discussed in committee again.
It wasn't brought back to committee at all, but it was on the agenda for.
Yes.
We can do it for next month. We'll bring it back to committee, have a discussion about it. I guess Mr. Grillo may have a comment about it. That's why he wanted to table it. I know I wanted to table it also.
Mr. Grillo is running late, but he's on his way.
Okay.
So how do we put that on the agenda for tonight?
So what is it that we're looking to discuss? The issue of whether or not to approve a consultant?
Yeah, to basically approve a consultant, basically. That's all it was.
Well, you could.
And it was like, I think it was like 45,000.
Well, we don't have any information in front of us again. His resume, wasn't it a resume and there was something else that was?
It was tabled because like people wanted to do research and make sure that.
Should be referred
Okay, we
to.
didn't have any of the information. We haven't had any of the information brought to us.
It probably should be referred, I mean,
Yeah,
I
refer
hope
to the
I'm not speaking out of
superintendent.
term here, but it probably should be referred,
Yeah.
you have an athletic committee, right, in this district?
That's what
Yeah,
I was saying.
right, so that's, I know, I just want to make sure that it's a board athletic committee, correct?
Yes.
So maybe the athletic committee can review it and then report, like
But
you guys, that way you can make a recommendation as to an agenda item. The problem is that with a consultant, because it's a payment issue, because you got to pay somebody for their work, you'd have to put all the terms of exactly what it is you're doing. So you can't just like, I approve a consultant, it's got to be, you know, I approve a consultant at this rate for this many times, at this amount, like that kind of stuff. That's important, and we can certainly have that discussion, but you might get more done in a smaller and less, less formal environment, if that makes sense.
But it was my understanding that this all was vetted through the athletic community, and I
No,
could
it
be
wasn't.
wrong.
It was not
I
vetted
could be
through
wrong.
athletics.
Okay. Okay, so it's only about a process, correct?
Right now, it's about the process
Alright.
of bringing it back.
Mr. Remy.
No, I thought it did go through.
It didn't go through
No,
athletics.
and
I thought it went
nothing came
through.
through the athletic committee. There was nothing brought to the
Because
athletic
it ended
committee.
up
There was-
becoming on this, to the whole
Nothing was
board.
brought to us.
Well, I believe it was on the agenda.
Yeah, if it made it to agenda, so that means
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it
it
was
wasn't
on
brought to
the-
the athletic committee.
that's my
No, it was,
understanding.
I don't know how, whatever happened that with the committee, but it was on the agenda, and Joe had questions about it,
Yeah.
and he
And I had-
tabled it.
I had questions.
So and you had questions about it, so it was on the agenda.
Right.
No, I know.
And
Nothing was.
if it was on the agenda, it means.
Can I just say, we'll refer it back to the athletic committee. If there's information that then needs to be vetted through the committee again, if there's any questions that any of the board members had regarding the issue we tabled, please forward it to the committee chair so that it can be reviewed.
Okay, I would have to respectfully disagree with that because it was on the agenda last month.
It
And
never,
so therefore, that being said, it was vetted through the proper channels, so therefore, it was on the agenda for our meeting last month. So with everyone doing their research or whatever it may be, I think that we could move forward with that. And if the school board,
all right, right now, I understand your situation, I understand your concern, I understand what you're saying, but right now, as a sitting vice president, I don't want to put it on the agenda. It was not vetted through athletics. There were questions that weren't answered. Nothing was forwarded to any of the committees for review. So I don't want to put it on the agenda today, but we can go through it for next month.
you know what, let's just discuss it in an executive session.
And that's not it's not an executive session discussion.
You don't,
I think we need to
Can I ask
figure
a
out this
question?
understanding, because now I'm confused. If something goes through committee and then it ends up on this agenda, shouldn't it move forward?
Can I say something? It never went through the committee.
Okay.
How did it get on the agenda?
Yeah,
I
so how
can't
did it
answer
get
that
to
because
the agenda?
it never came through the athletic chair. It was never discussed in committee, okay? We have a meeting on Monday. It'll be discussed on Monday.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you. It was
Okay.
tabled, so it can't
No,
go.
but the thing about it is, it just can't be, this is a board. So therefore, there's gotta be a way to vet this out. It might not be in public, but I'm saying like this, there's gotta be a way to vet this out and to have a discussion, tonight that would suffice everybody's concerns, not necessarily obstructions, but, concerns, and move forward.
so let me just answer this, just be,
You can do
there,
procedurally.
Yeah, so
Robert's
there's-
rules.
And that's the thing about, I wanna be procedural.
yeah.
And that's why I said concern.
So it can legally be done. We could do a lot here. We're a board, like you said. So the board could adopt something tonight if you wanted. That's why you have an attorney. If I had to write something, I'm happy to, if that's what this board wants to
lead us in the
do.
right direction.
Right.
I don't wanna mess up.
We could do it if we want, but you have internal procedures, and the reason that you have internal procedures is designed to ensure that there are as few surprises as possible as a Board of Education, and that things are efficient and streamlined and everything else. You know that, because you guys are very strong, more than most boards, about your committee system and your structures and your chairs and the way things work and how things end up on the agenda. So it really comes down to whether or not the board, as an entity, wants to address this tonight as a add to the agenda, an addition to the agenda, or whether you want to kick it back to Monday's athletic committee meeting for consideration and discussion in a less formal environment, one where there's not a quorum of the board present and it can be properly discussed among people across the table from each other, as opposed to here. Now, you're across the table, but it's more structured, it's run by Robert's rules. Your committee system is not quite like that. That's one of the reasons that the committee system is part of your procedure, because it's easier to talk to people and get things done, work things out, change things when you're in a committee, and that's what brings it to the board. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying that the procedure is designed to prevent, the last minute. I'm not suggesting it's the last minute, because I wasn't at the last meeting. I don't know how this worked, but it's designed to prevent the stuff that hasn't been vetted. If it has or hasn't, I don't know. I have no knowledge of that in particular. I'm just speaking to the process.
Mr. LaRocca?
Nothing.
Mr. Saunders?
It's just my thought that, like, if it was on the agenda last month, and.
Move next to the
I'm
mic.
sorry.
Move close to the mic.
Okay. And you know I'm soft-spoken, so I'm like, and I've really, if it was on the agenda of last month, why can't it be on the agenda for this month? If we voted up or down, I just believe that if a board member suggests that it should be on the agenda, and that's what it should be happening. And it's not just me. It would be multiple board members.
Okay, it wasn't vetted.
And I'm not saying that I'm right with.
No, I understand that. I don't know what the urgency is. If it's next month, it's next month. I don't understand. Is there some urgency that it has to be done tonight? Is somebody under some order to do it? I don't understand. No, I know. It's just, you just brought it up. Did you mention it to the board president today at all, that you wanted to bring this to her attention and put it on the agenda?
She would have brought it up tonight, but because of.
Did you have a discussion with Dr. Adams and Mr. Hastings?
No, I've never had a discussion with Dr. Adams, and that's true.
So here's the other option, and whether you could always it's Robert's rules here, right? So any board member could always make a motion to add it to the agenda, right?
Exactly.
So you could, if you want to make a motion to add it to the agenda at the appropriate time, and the president has to decide the appropriate time, but you could make a motion.
And that was my point.
And you could get a second. You have to get a second for the motion, and then you would have a vote on whether or not it should be added to the agenda. And then we can decide what we're doing with it. If it passes, then it's on the agenda, and then we've got to figure out what we're going to do. If it doesn't pass, then it either goes to committee or it doesn't. That's up to the board.
My whole thing is that give the kids a better choice. And that's my bottom line. Like, for instance, I went to Seton Hall, which is a very good school. I had good grades. I did the best. These kids sometimes don't have the choice. And I am a proponent of giving them the best options. And sometimes you have to give them, not necessarily, give them the systems that they need in place for them to do better. I had the tools. Some kids don't have the tools. I had the tools. My mother and father, regardless, they had their issues or whatever, and they made sure that I had good grades. Every day, I mean, when report cards came out, I was concerned about making A's, not B's, not C's. I was concerned about making A's all the time. And I want the kids to have the same options. And that's my thing.
No, I understand. Do you have a resolution that has the account number you want to take it out of, that Mr. Hastings has approved for the budget? Do you have the scope of the duties of the individual? Do you have the resolution from last month in front of you that we could?
No, I don't have all that, no.
Okay.
I cannot say I don't have all that.
So wouldn't it be better to do it the proper way and get it written right and make sure the budget line item's there, because it has to come out of somebody's budget?
But wouldn't it have been on the budget on,
The problem last month it wasn't, it was a different budget.
it was a different budget?
I think that, I don't know if the budget, the line item was.
No,
right or not.
I mean, like, when you do budgets, right?
But do you have the information?
No. When you do budgets, right, you have line items. And for my budget, I have a $45 million budget. And each month, I have, let's say for instance, I have repairs, I have staffing, I have whatever. But wouldn't that have been part of it initially, or no?
There was a line item, I don't know what it was in June, was it?
No, it was
June?
last
The-
month.
Was it last? Was it last month?
It was last month.
So we don't have the information, do we have the information in front of us? So we can discuss it. I don't have any information, I don't have what it was all about.
Mr. Sanders, that was June's meeting? It was
Yeah.
June, not last month, in which you're referring.
And I may be mistaken.
No, I understand, sir, but it was June's meeting that item that you're particularly talking about, that was June.
So, but wouldn't that have been a line item at that point, or no?
Can I just for a minute, can we adjourn our work session? We can continue the conversation. We were supposed to start our public session at 7 o'clock, and we should be adjourning our work session. Okay, and someone made a motion. Can we adjourn the work session?
You would ask for a motion, I don't think
Yeah,
there was one.
a motion to adjourn the work session? Who's second? All in favor? Aye. You want to take just 5 minutes, and then we'll start the public session?